They went on a luxury family vacation, and didn't even tell me it was happening. I found out from Instagram. But what my father said when I confronted him, that changed everything. And that's the moment I realized, this wasn't just a mistake. It was the truth I had refused to see my entire life. They didn't even want me there. That's what my father said, about the family vacation I never even knew existed. I remember my hands trembling as I held the phone, staring at a message that would crack everything wide open. I send them $2,500 every single month. And this is how they repay me. So I cut them off. Every dollar, every call, every thread of connection, I severed it. But before that moment of resolve, before I made the decision to disappear from their lives forever, came the sting that started it all. It was an ordinary Tuesday when I saw it. Frank, my younger brother, had posted a picture on Instagram. A golden beach kissed by the sun. My entire family smiling wide. Drinks in their hands, sunglasses on, soaking up paradise. My parents, my siblings, even my cousins were there. The caption? Well-deserved family retreat. That word, family, hit like a punch to the gut. I stared at it for a long time, reading and rereading, waiting for a mention of me. A joke about me staying behind for work. A tag, anything, but there was nothing. I kept scrolling, a quiet panic tightening in my chest. More photos, a luxury resort, candle-lit dinners, boat rides, laughter. And me? Nowhere. I opened my inbox, scanned my messages, searched for an invite, a heads up, something. There was silence. Ice-cold silence. That's when I picked up the phone and called my dad. He answered quickly, like everything was normal, like he hadn't just been caught red-handed. "Hey, kid," he said, casually. I didn't waste time. "Where are you all?" There was a pause. Then, as if it were nothing, on vacation. My jaw clenched. Without me? Another sigh, as if I was being unreasonable. "Well, we figured you wouldn't want to come." I exhaled through my nose, my voice trembling. "You figured? Are you serious? You've been planning this trip for months. I send you money every single month to help out and you didn't even ask if I wanted to be included?" Silence again. Then came the words that carved into my chest like glass. "We didn't want you there." I stopped breathing for a second. "What? You're always busy. Always working," he said, voice detached, like he was explaining the weather. "Honestly, you bring the energy down." He said it like I was a stranger. Like I was some acquaintance who tried to tag along and got turned away. "We thought it would be best this way." My hand gripped the phone so tight. My knuckles started to ache. "I send you $2,500. Every single month," I said slowly, trying not to break. "I paid your bills, cleared your debts, helped in every emergency. And this is what I get?" He mumbled, "Don't make this a big deal. You wouldn't have had fun anyway." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just ended the call. One firm, final click. And I sat there, frozen, numb, my phone still in my hand. That moment, that was when I made the decision. They were on their own now. The final withdrawal. I don't know how long I sat there after that call. Could have been minutes, could have been hours. Time stopped meaning anything. My father's words echoed in my head like a siren I couldn't shut off. "We didn't want you there." Not a mistake, not a miscommunication, not a scheduling conflict. A choice, a deliberate, thought-out choice. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't new. This wasn't a one-time betrayal. It was just the first time I saw it clearly. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just opened my laptop, logged into my banking app, and started the process of reclaiming my life. First, I canceled the automatic transfers. No more $2,500 a month. No more safety net. Then I checked the joint account I had with my parents, the one I created, for emergencies. The one I'd been quietly funding for years. Of course, the balance was nearly gone. I withdrew every last cent and moved it to my personal account. And then, finally, I did something I should have done long ago. I cut them off. Blocked my father. Blocked my mother. Blocked my siblings. Every number, every thread of contact, gone. For the first time in years. I wasn't their backup plan. I wasn't their bailout. I wasn't their bank. And when I finally lay down in bed, a strange sensation washed over me. Not guilt. Not anger. Relief. A quiet, unfamiliar relief that wrapped around me like a blanket. No more obligations. No more being used. No more pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. I didn't sleep much that night. But for the first time in a long while, I rest. Guilt by committee. By the next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Even though I'd blocked my parents and siblings. I hadn't cut off everyone, yet. And the rest of the family? They were coming out of the woodwork. The first message was from my Aunt Lisa. "Hey, sweetheart, your mom just called me sobbing. What's going on? She said you're refusing to help them anymore?" Then came my cousin Riley. Dude, did you actually cut off your parents? What happened? And then, the guilt. You're being unbelievably selfish. They gave you everything when you were growing up. And this is how you treat them? I didn't respond. I just stared at the messages. My chest tight, not with doubt, but with disbelief. They didn't even know the full story. No one had asked for my side. But then, one message stood out. Short, cruel, familiar. You really think you can just walk away from us after everything we've done for you? You're pathetic. Hope you enjoy being alone. No name, no number. But I knew that tone. It was my father. I stared at the screen. And for the first time since this whole mess began, I felt absolutely nothing. No rage, no sadness, just exhaustion. They weren't sorry. They weren't shocked by how much they'd hurt me. They were just angry that their money train had stopped running. That message? It wasn't grief. It was panic disguised as outrage. I set my phone down, walked into the kitchen, and made breakfast. Let them scream. Let them cry and twist the story to whoever would listen. It didn't matter, because I wasn't going back. For once, they were going to learn exactly what life without me looked like. And I was finally ready to let them. The knock at the door. I thought the storm would stay online. That if I kept ignoring the messages, the calls, the fake concern, it would all eventually fade. I was wrong. By the time afternoon rolled around, someone was pounding on my door like the building was on fire. I didn't move at first, but after a moment, I got up and looked through the peephole. Barbara, my sister. I almost didn't open it. I thought maybe if I stayed quiet, she'd go away, but I knew better. So I opened the door. She didn't wait for an invitation, just pushed past me like she owned the place. What the hell, Marcus? That's my name, by the way. Marcus. I folded my arms and leaned against the wall. What? She spun around, her eyes already brimming with frustration. Mom's been crying nonstop. Dad is furious. They said you just abandoned them. I let out a dry laugh, sharp. Empty. Abandoned them? You mean the way they excluded me from an entire family vacation? The way they decided I wasn't wanted? Her mouth opened, then closed again. No words. I kept going. They've been draining me for years. Barbara. Bills. Emergencies. Debts. You name it. I've been footing the bill while they act like I'm invisible, until they need something. She looked down, suddenly finding the floor very interesting. It's not like that, she mumbled. Isn't it? I cut in. Tell me something. On that trip, did anyone even mention me? Did anyone ask why I wasn't there? Silence. And in that silence, I got my answer. Yeah, that's what I thought. Her voice softened, barely above a whisper. But they need you, Marcus. I shook my head slowly. No, they need my money, not me. And if they can't respect me, they don't get my help. Period. Barbara dragged a hand through her hair, clearly frustrated. They're our parents. We can't just leave them hanging. I met her gaze and said what I'd been holding back for years. Then you help them. You start covering their rent, their groceries, their constant messes. Let's see how long it takes before you can't breathe under the weight. She blinked, looked away, didn't argue, because she knew. I moved toward the door, signaling this conversation was over. She hesitated for a second, then said, "They're not going to stop. You know." I smiled, cold and sure. "Neither will I." She left without another word. I locked the door behind her. And for the first time in years, I smiled. Let them try. I wasn't giving in this time. Crossing the line, I thought I had seen the worst of it. The messages, the guilt trips, the family showing up at my door. But I underestimated just how far they were willing to go. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a call from work. Not unusual, until I saw who it was. My boss. I picked up, my stomach already twisting into knots. "Hey, Marcus, got a second?" His tone was unreadable. I stepped into his office a few minutes later, trying to keep my nerves in check. "Yeah, what's going on?" He leaned forward, rubbing his forehead like he didn't want to say what was coming next. "This morning, I got a weird phone call." I frowned. "From who?" "Your mother." My blood ran cold. "You got to be kidding." "I wish I was," he said, watching me carefully. "She claimed you were going through some kind of emotional breakdown. That you were making reckless financial decisions. That you needed time off." I stared at him in disbelief. This was their next move? When the guild didn't work, they tried to sabotage me. He raised his hands. "Look, I told her your personal life isn't my business. But I still have to ask, are you okay?" I took a long, slow breath, then nodded. "I'm fine. I just stopped sending my parents money. And now they're throwing a tantrum." He let out a low whistle and leaned back. "Makes sense now. Sorry they dragged you into this." I said, "Not your fault, but if they try this again, let me know. I don't tolerate harassment, even if it comes from family." I left his office with a strange mix of anger and clarity. They weren't just mad. They were desperate. Back at my desk, I checked my phone. 17 missed calls. One new text, from my mother. If you refuse to respond, we'll have no choice but to get the entire family involved. I exhaled through my nose. They still thought they could shame me into submission. That if they just yelled loud enough, I'd fold, like always. But this time? This time I was going to prove them completely, undeniably wrong. I don't owe you anything. By the time I got home that night, my phone looked like a war zone. Voicemails full, missed calls in the dozens. Text after text, each one more dramatic than the last. I sat down, opened the first one. Mom, we don't understand why you're doing this to us. Dad, enough of this foolishness. Call me now. Barbara, they're considering selling things just to survive. Are you really okay with that? Uncle David, Marcus, your mom called me in tears. At least talk to her. Man, Cousin Riley. Dude, what's happening? Your parents say you're punishing them for no reason. That one made me laugh. No reason? I kept scrolling. Mom again. Your father and I are struggling. If you had any compassion, you'd help us. We are your parents. Dad, you're acting like a selfish child. After all we've done for you, you owe us. And there it was. The core of it. Not concern, not regret, just entitlement. I was never a son to them. I was an account number. A living, breathing transaction. I tossed the phone onto the table, rubbed my eyes, and sat in silence. They still didn't get it. They still thought I was bluffing. Still believed that if they pushed hard enough, I'd break. So I picked up my phone, and I made it crystal clear. Me, I don't owe you anything. I stared at it for a second. Then I typed again. Me, I supported you financially for years. You deliberately excluded me from a family vacation. And you didn't even have the decency to be honest about it. That told me everything I needed to know. You only acknowledge me when I'm footing the bill. That stops today. I hesitated, for just a second, then sent one final message. Me, find someone else to fund your lifestyle. I'm done. And then? I blocked them. Blocked my mother, my father, Barbara, every single person who thought I could be manipulated back into submission. And the second I hit that final block, I exhaled. A long, slow breath I didn't even know I'd been holding. No more guilt. No more pressure. No more sacrificing my peace for people who only saw me as a paycheck. For the first time in what felt like forever, I was free. Silence, and the truth that followed. The first few days were quiet. Unnaturally quiet. No buzzing phone. No texts. No voicemails filled with sobbing or shouting. Just silence. At first, I thought I'd feel guilty. That familiar tug in my chest. That sense of duty I'd carried for so long. But it never came. What I felt instead was something I'd almost forgotten how to enjoy. Peace. For the first time in years, my paycheck stayed untouched. No surprise withdrawals. No late night emergencies. No frantic messages asking for just a little help. And then, something even more unexpected happened. I started to breathe again. I slept without waking in the middle of the night, wondering if I'd missed a call or a crisis. I cooked my own meals. I went for walks. I looked at my bank account and didn't feel like I was just a stopgap for someone else's irresponsibility. But a few days into the silence, something clicked. They weren't starving. They weren't living on the streets. They were just inconvenienced. That's all this was. They weren't calling out of fear. They were calling out of entitlement. And that realization? It lit a fire in me. Because for years, I had put my life on hold. Turned down opportunities. Skipped vacations. Lived smaller just so they could live larger. So they could dine out. So they could afford trips. So they could keep pretending they were stable, on my dime. And the second the money stopped flowing, they didn't try to apologize. They didn't even try to understand. They tried to destroy me. And the worst part? They had never needed me. They had just gotten used to using me. And now that the faucet was shut off, they were scrambling. The silence didn't last long, of course. By the end of the second week, my phone started lighting up again. But this time, it wasn't them. It was unfamiliar numbers. No caller ID. Unknown numbers. One after the other. Voicemails. More voicemails. They had started using different phones. I stared at the screen and rolled my eyes. But curiosity got the better of me. And I played the first message. It was my mother. Her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. Marcus, sweetheart, we haven't heard from you. I just want to check in and make sure you're okay. Maybe we can talk. Please, baby. We miss you. We miss you. I almost laughed. No, they missed their human ATM. I deleted the voicemail and blocked every new number they used. But then, they crossed another line. They dragged someone else into it. Someone who had no idea what they were walking into. And that was their next mistake. Exposed. Later that night, my phone buzzed with a message from Carl. An actual friend. Someone who's known me for years. Carl. Hey bro, your mom just hit me up on Facebook. Everything okay? I froze for a second. They were dragging my friends into it now? Me. What did she say? A few seconds later, my screen lit up with a screenshot. Mom to Carl. Carl, I truly hate to bother you like this, but I'm really worried about Marcus. He's been acting strangely, cutting off family, making reckless decisions. We're afraid he's having a breakdown and isolating himself. If you hear from him, please reach out. We just want to help. Help? I clenched my jaw so tight. I thought my teeth might crack. This wasn't concern. This wasn't love. This was reputation management. They were trying to spin the story. Make it look like I was unstable, unwell, a danger to myself. All because I had the nerve to set a boundary. I called Carl immediately. Before I could say a word, he spoke first. Dude, chill. I don't believe any of that crap. I exhaled slowly. My shoulders dropped. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. They're just pissed I stopped sending them money. Carl let out a dry laugh. Yeah, that tracks. We talked for a bit longer, nothing heavy. Just catching up, laughing, normal stuff. And after I hung up, I sat in the dark for a while, thinking, they were never going to stop. Were they? They'd already tried guilt, shame, public image, sabotage, and now, character assassination. That was the final straw. If they wanted to turn people against me, fine, but I wasn't going to hide. They wanted to spread lies behind my back? Then I was going to tell the truth, out loud. No drama, no anger, no revenge, just facts. So I opened my laptop, took a breath, and posted the truth on Facebook for the world to see. My post, just to clear things up. Since the rumors are clearly flying, I'm not having a breakdown. I haven't abandoned my family. I've simply stopped financially supporting my parents. For years, I paid their bills, cleared their debts, sent them thousands every month so they could live comfortably while I put my own life on hold. And in return, they left me out of a family vacation. Didn't invite me, didn't mention me, and when I confronted them, they said, we didn't want you there. So I stopped paying. Since then, they've tried to manipulate me, guilt me, sabotage my job, and now they're messaging my friends to say I'm unstable. I'm not unstable. I'm done being used. If you hear from them, now you know the truth. Then I hit post, and leaned back. I expected backlash, but what came next? I never saw it coming. The curtain falls. I didn't expect much. A few likes, maybe a comment or two. Some awkward silence from mutual family. But within minutes, the notifications lit up like wildfire. Ping, ping, ping. People were reading. And they weren't just reading, they were responding. Cousin Nadia. Wait, they took a whole trip and didn't even tell you? But used your money? Uncle Reggie. Son, I had no idea. You did the right thing. Do not let them guilt you. Aunt Michelle. Wow, I can't believe they tried to twist it around and make you look unstable. That's disgusting. The comments came faster than I could read them. And not just support, people were calling them out directly. Uncle Reggie again. How can you claim to be struggling when Marcus was giving you $2,500 a month? That's more than most people's rent. Cousin Nadia replied, you were fine when the money was coming in. But now that it's gone, you're trying to destroy his life? Get real. And just like that, the carefully spun story unraveled. All the lies, the pity plays, the fake concern, gone. They'd built this image of themselves for years, devoted, struggling parents, just trying to survive while their selfish son lived large. But now everyone knew the truth. They hadn't been struggling. They'd been spoiled. And when the gravy train stopped, they didn't ask what went wrong, they went straight to sabotage. It didn't take long before Barbara messaged me. Barbara, are you seriously putting our family's private business all over social media? Me, I'm not exposing anything. I'm correcting the lies our parents have been spreading. Barbara, this is humiliating for them. Me, maybe they should have thought about that before they tried to ruin my name. She went quiet after that. No response. I could practically picture the chaos unfolding behind the scenes. The frantic phone calls, the damage control, the realization that their story no longer held up. But I wasn't done. If they wanted the world to see me as the villain, then the world deserved to see the truth. And if the truth embarrassed them? Good. Maybe that's what it would take for them to finally learn. You can't manipulate someone forever. Eventually, they break free. No more safety net. I'd drawn the line. They'd crossed it, again and again. And now it was time to show them what that actually meant. No more words. No more warnings. Just action. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in a long time. Their landlord, Mr. Ryan. He picked up on the third ring. Hello? Hey, Mr. Ryan, it's Marcus. There was a pause. Marcus, is everything okay? I took a breath, steady but final. Just wanted to give you a heads up, I'm no longer covering my parents' rent. Any prior arrangements we had are over. There was silence on the other end. Then a low chuckle. Well, I figured this day would come. That caught me off guard. What do you mean? He sighed. Marcus, your parents have been behind on rent more times than I can count. Every time. It was the same story, don't worry. Our son will take care of it. Like you were some magic ATM. I clenched my jaw, heart pounding with a mix of frustration and grim validation. Of course they had. Well, I said, voice steady, they're on their own now. He exhaled sharply. Understood. I'll be expecting their payment next month, on time. If they don't deliver, that's their problem now. We wrapped up the call. And as I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Satisfaction. They had treated me like a parachute for so long. They forgot what falling felt like. But now the ground was coming. And this time, they'd feel every inch of the drop. It didn't even take a full day for the fallout to begin. I was halfway through dinner that evening when the knocking started. Loud, fast, desperate. I walked to the door, peeked through the peephole. It was her, my mother. She looked like a storm had swept through her soul. Puffy eyes, tense hands gripping her phone like a lifeline. I thought about leaving her out there, letting her stew in the mess she made. But curiosity won out. I opened the door, but didn't step aside. What do you want? Her voice shook. Marcus, please, can we talk? I crossed my arms. Talk about what? She swallowed hard. Mr. Ryan called, said you're not paying the rent anymore. And there it was. Reality, finally catching up. I gave a slight shrug. Yeah, I told you, I'm done. Tears welled up again. Marcus, we need you. I didn't flinch. No, you need my money. She winced. We raised you. We took care of you. And now when we're the ones struggling, you turn your back? I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. You didn't seem to need me when you planned that vacation. You didn't need me when you decided I wasn't welcome. She opened her mouth, but the words got stuck. So I kept going. You had no problem draining my bank account when it suited you. But now that you actually have to take care of your own responsibilities, it's a crisis? I shook my head. I'm done being your safety net. She was crying now, real tears. Maybe not. So you're just going to sit back and watch us struggle? I didn't blink. You'll manage. Her breath hitched like I'd slapped her. Then her sorrow twisted into resentment. Her voice dropped into something cold and bitter. Fine, she snapped. If this is who you've decided to become, don't expect us to forgive you. I leaned casually against the doorframe. Unbothered. Forgive me? For setting a boundary? For finally putting myself first? I shook my head, calm as ever. No, Mom, if anyone needs forgiveness, it's you and Dad. Her face crumpled into rage, but no words came. Because she knew I was right. I stepped back, and closed the door in her face. For a moment, I stood there, listening as her footsteps faded down the hallway. And then, I smiled. Because for the first time in this entire nightmare, I had won. The final blow. It didn't take long for the next wave to hit. A few hours after I shut the door in her face, my phone buzzed with a message from Barbara. Barbara. Mom came home completely distraught. What did you say to her? Me. The truth. There was a pause. Then, Barbara. You're being heartless. Marcus. She's devastated. Me. She's not devastated because she lost me. She's devastated because she lost control. Silence. No response. And then, like clockwork, a message from my father. Short, cold, calculated. Dad, you made your decision. Don't come crawling back when you regret it. I stared at that text for a long second. And then typed back. Me. I won't. And I meant it. They thought I'd break under the silence. Under the pressure. Under the loneliness. But I wasn't breaking. I was finally standing. Days passed. Then a week. Then 2. No more door knocks. No more phone calls. No more guilt-tripping Facebook posts or secret messages through friends. Just peace. And it was glorious. My paycheck? Untouched. My energy? My own. No more walking on eggshells. Afraid of the next emergency. No more sacrificing my dreams, my plans, my future, just to make sure they could afford another luxury they hadn't earned. I started saving. Started planning a trip for myself, one that I would enjoy. And every time I looked at my bank balance, I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel shame. I felt freedom. And if they never spoke to me again, that was fine. Because I had finally learned the most important truth of all. Family isn't about blood. It's about respect. And if they couldn't offer me that, then they didn't deserve a place in my life. Liberation. It's strange, really, how quiet life becomes once you remove the people who never truly heard you. How light you feel when you stop carrying the weight of people who only ever saw your worth in dollars and deposits. In the weeks that followed, I started to rediscover pieces of myself, pieces that had been buried beneath guilt, obligation, and fear. I slept better. I laughed more. I ate dinner without watching the clock, wondering if someone was going to call with another, urgent, request. I started living. For me. For the first time in years. My decisions weren't shaped around someone else's crisis. My weekends weren't swallowed up by damage control. My energy wasn't funneled into their never-ending black hole of needs. And you know what else? They survived. No one starved. No one lost everything. They just had to adjust. Like grown adults do. And that truth? It hit me harder than any of their insults ever could. They didn't need me. They just preferred using me. Because it was easier to guilt me than to grow up. But once I stopped showing up as their solution, they were forced to face their own lives. And me? I started rebuilding mine. I reconnected with old friends, the ones I'd drifted from during years of stress and obligation. I signed up for things I'd always wanted to do but never could afford, not because I lacked money, but because I had none left after giving it all away. I even started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to stay unbroken. I was healing, day by day, choice by choice. And no, it wasn't always easy. Some nights, the silence echoed louder than I expected. Some moments, I still felt that reflex, the one that wanted to say, maybe I should check in, maybe I should help, but I didn't, because I knew the truth now. Love without respect is manipulation, and loyalty without boundaries is self-destruction. I wasn't abandoning them. I was rescuing myself. And if that made me the villain in their story, so be it. Because in mine, I was finally the hero. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more real-life family dramas. Let me know in the comments what you think about today's story. Was it fair or totally messed up? See you in the next one.